Watching DD India's News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Amritpal Singh. Coming up in the next hour, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi dedicates multiple development projects worth more than $2 billion in the southern Indian state of Tamil Nadu. And in a surprising turn of events, both the US President Joe Biden and former US President Donald Trump emerged victorious in the Michigan primaries, setting the stage for a contentious general election in the United States. But first up, the headlines. India's Prime Minister lays the foundation stone and unveils multiple development projects in southern state of Tamil Nadu. Also visits Maharashtra to unveil more projects. th WTO Ministerial Conference underway in Abu Dhabi. India calls for restoration of the appellate body as a topmost priority of any reform process. Both Biden and Trump win the Michigan primaries, but US President faces anger from key Arab American voters over Israel's support in the Gaza war. Local campaign urges them to choose uncommitted on the ballot. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelenskiy seeks the Balkan arms support at the two-day summit of the southeastern European countries in Albania. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Wednesday inaugurated projects and laid the foundation stones for new initiatives worth over $2 billion. Inaugurating the projects, Prime Minister Modi said that the state is, southern state of India, Tamil Nadu, is writing a new chapter of progress, and due to the centre's efforts, modern connectivity in Tamil Nadu is on a new high.
India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi laid the foundation stone and dedicated to the nation multiple development projects worth over $2 billion at Thoothukudi in the Indian state of Tamil Nadu on Wednesday. The most crucial among these projects is the foundation stone of the outer harbour container terminal at V.O. Chidambaram port. This container terminal is a step towards transforming the port into a transshipment hub for the East Coast.
Desalination plant, ग्रीन हाइड्रो प्रोडक्शन और बंकरिंग फैसिलिटीज का भी आरंभ हुआ है। इन प्रोजेक्ट से तूतुकुड़ी और तमिलनाडु ग्रीन एनर्जी और सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट का एक बड़ा सेंटर बनेगा।
The Prime Minister also launched India's first indigenous green hydrogen fuel cell inland waterway vessel under the Harit Nauka initiative. Addressing the gathering, PM said that on the one hand, the present central government is promoting employment and ease of living by enhancing highways, motorways and railways in the state.
ये सारे जो प्रोजेक्ट मैं आज लेके आया हूं, ये दशकों से यहां के लोगों की मांग थी। आज ये आपका सेवक तमिलनाडु की धरती पर तमिलनाडु का नया भाग्य लिखने के लिए एक सेवक बनकर के आया है।
The significance of the hydrogen fuel cell inland waterway vessel is this zero emission, zero noise vessel is a revolutionary step towards India becoming a hydrogen fuel vessel manufacturer. This is part of India's transformative efforts on the innovative and new technology front on green energy and sustainable cost-effective alternate fuel front. Such fuel cells can be used in a wide range of applications, including transportation, material handling, stationary, portable and emergency backup power applications. Prime Minister dedicated to the nation rail projects for doubling of Vanchi-Maniachi-Nagercoil rail line. The doubling project will help in reducing travel time for the trains heading towards Chennai from Kanyakumari, Nagercoil and Tirunelveli. While PM dedicated 4 road projects in Tamil Nadu. The Prime Minister also dedicated tourist facilities in 75 lighthouses across 10 states UTs for promoting tourism. With Anuj Yadav, Bureau Report, DD India.
And Prime Minister Modi later in the evening was in the western state of Maharashtra, and he inaugurated and dedicated to the nation multiple development projects there too. These projects are related to rail, road and irrigation. He inaugurated them at Yavatmal. Prime Minister also released benefits under the PM Kisan and other schemes during the program. The Prime Minister also initiated the distribution of over 10 million Ayushman cards across Maharashtra and launched the Modi Awas Gharkul Yojana for the OBC category beneficiaries. He also flagged off 2 train services. The Prime Minister also inaugurated the statue of Pandit Deen Dayal Upadhyaya in the city. Farmers connected with the event from all over the country turned out in large numbers. Addressing the gathering, the Prime Minister reiterated the 4 biggest priorities for the government, that's poor, youth, women and farmers. He mentioned irrigation facilities for farmers, pakka houses or concrete houses for the poor, financial assistance to rural women and the infrastructure for future of the youth.
गरीब, किसान, नौजवान और नारी शक्ति को सशक्त करने का ये अभियान और तेज होने वाला है। आने वाले 5 वर्ष इससे भी अधिक तेज विकास के होंगे। आने वाले 5 वर्ष विदेश के हर परिवार के जीवन को बेहतर बनाने वाले होंगे।
The 13th WTO Ministerial Conference in Abu Dhabi saw India emphasizing the appellate body's restoration as a top reform priority. Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal led the Indian team. Meanwhile, Brazil's Foreign Minister Mauro Vieira echoed India's call for meeting sustainable development goals. The WTO is hopeful about progress, especially in the fishing, agriculture and e-commerce.
The 13th Ministerial Conference of the World Trade Organization is taking place in Abu Dhabi. India has emphatically called for restoration of the appellate body as a topmost priority of any reform process, along with effective formalization of the ongoing informal dispute settlement reform discussions among some members at the WTO.
We've been looking at, and key issues for India is of course fisheries subsidies agreement, which is being negotiated now. So there was already a partial agreement reached in the last ministerial in 2022, but what we are now discussing are subsidies for overcapacity and overfishing. So for India there are key considerations, and we know the government of India is fighting on these.
Echoing sentiments shared by India and other developing nations, Brazil's Foreign Minister Mauro Vieira underscored the significance of meeting sustainable development goals and addressing pressing global challenges such as reducing inequalities, poverty and hunger.
Promoting a sustainable development too. For all that we need technology, those we do not have, so transfer of technology is very important. And we also express the same feeling from other developing countries, not only in our region, but in other continents too.
The WTO is optimistic about advancements, especially regarding fishing, agriculture and electronic commerce during its Abu Dhabi Ministerial Conference. With Vinod Kumar in Abu Dhabi, Bureau Report, DD India.
Addressing a press conference on the sidelines of the WTO's 13th Ministerial Conference in Abu Dhabi, the Additional Secretary in the Ministry of Commerce, Piyush Kumar, expressed satisfaction over the fact that the WTO conference has been able to raise the concerns of the least developed countries and the developing countries.
One thing which is important and which I think will go down in the history of WTO Ministerial Conference will be that this has been a pro-LDC and developing countries conference. After 2016, पहली बार membership में 2 LDCs countries का शामिल होना और number जो बढ़ा है 166. That is a major achievement of this Ministerial Conference 2013, which we have been hailing, and we have also told the chair of the 13th conference.
And amidst the ongoing Israel-Gaza conflict, a glimmer of hope emerged as the US President Joe Biden expressed optimism for a ceasefire by next Monday. Meanwhile, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, responding to President Biden's warning against Israel's hard-right government losing international backing, said that he had consistently resisted pressure to end the Gaza war prematurely, and this stand has popular US support.
Amid the ongoing Israel-Gaza conflict, a glimmer of hope emerges among the displaced citizens on both sides after US President hopes that ceasefire will take place by next Monday. On the other hand, Biden also warned Israel of losing global support if it keeps up with the incredibly conservative government they have.
Well, I hope by the beginning of the weekend, the end of the weekend. At least my national security advisor tells me that we're close. We're close. It's not done yet. And my hope is by next Monday, we'll have a ceasefire.
Responding to Joe Biden's warning, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said he had consistently resisted pressure to end the Gaza war prematurely and that this stand has popular US support that will help us continue the campaign until total victory over Hamas.
Since the beginning of the war, I have been leading a political campaign with a purpose to curb the pressure intended to end the war before its time, and on the other hand to gain support for the Israel. We have significant success in this area because today the Harvard-Harris poll is published in the United States, which shows that 82% of American public supports Israel. This means 4 out of 5 citizens in US support Israel and not Hamas. This gives us another year of strength to continue the campaign until complete victory.
Amid the ongoing conflict, representatives of Hamas and Fatah will meet in Moscow on February 29th to discuss the formation of a unified Palestinian government after Palestinian Prime Minister Mohammed Shatayyeh announced his resignation on Monday, the RIA state news agency reported. Meanwhile, the US has said that it doesn't want tensions between Israel and Hezbollah to rise. The comments come after Hezbollah launched a volley of rockets at an Israeli aerial surveillance base.
We do not want to see either side escalate the conflict in the north, and in fact, we are going to continue to pursue a diplomatic resolution of that conflict. And while we saw the defense minister's comments, we have also taken note that repeatedly the defense minister and other officials of the government of Israel, including the prime minister, have said publicly that they would prefer the situation to be resolved diplomatically.
Retaliating to Hezbollah rocket attack, Israeli army released a video of airstrikes against their targets in Lebanon. Airstrikes took place at weapons storage facility and military structures in the area of Ramyeh in southern Lebanon. Amish Mahajan's report, DD India.
And Israel has clarified that there is no limit to the amount of humanitarian aid for civilians in Gaza. Tal Henrich, the spokesperson for the Israeli Prime Minister's office, further said that Israel is working with the Biden administration to find ways to improve humanitarian assistance delivery.
Over the last 3 days, close to 50 trucks were transferred to northern Gaza. Yesterday, an airdrop operation successfully delivered 160 packages of food and medical supplies to southern Gaza and to the Jordanian Field Hospital in Khan Yunis. This collaborative effort involved Israel, the UAE, Jordan, Egypt, France, and the United States. We say again, there is no limit to the amount of humanitarian aid for the civilians in Gaza.
Still to come on DD News Hour, Central European NATO members say that they have no plans to send ground troops to Ukraine. Zelenskiy co-hosts a summit with Albania to encourage further support to Kyiv by Southeast European countries. South Korea's fertility rate drops for a 4th straight year.
India that invents.
India that innovates. India that excites. India that invites. Land of possibilities. Teeming with opportunities. Watch India Ideas each Thursday, 8 p.m. only on DD India.
You're watching DD India's News Hour. You're watching DD India's News Hour. I'm Amritpal Singh. Prime Ministers of 4 Central European NATO members said that they have no plans to send ground troops to Ukraine on Tuesday after France hinted at the possibility, and Kremlin warned that any such move would inevitably lead to conflict between Russia and the NATO. Prime Ministers of Czech Republic, Hungary, Poland and Slovakia distanced themselves from the remarks. Hungary's Viktor Orban and Slovakia's Robert Fico, who returned to office last year, have also previously said that they would not send weapons to Ukraine, while Poland and Czech Republic have been among Kiev's strongest military backers. The United States has no plans to send troops to fight in Ukraine. Pentagon's spokesperson, Major General Patrick Ryder, said this during a briefing on Tuesday.
We have no plans to send U.S. service members to fight in Ukraine. The president has been pretty clear on that, and that continues to be our position. As it relates to providing assistance to Ukraine, I can really only speak in broad terms, from a DoD standpoint. But as you know, since the beginning of Russia's invasion, we have worked very hard to get security assistance to Ukraine as quickly as possible. And it's not just a U.S. effort, it's an international effort.
And for more on that story, DD India's Alex Carrier joins me from Brussels. Hi Alex, good to see you. Let's understand what could be the French president's inclinations for what he said about putting NATO boots on the ground, though there are differences and there is no consensus. The others don't agree to it. But what could be the French president's inclinations for that?
Well, Emmanuel Macron's suggestion was really much linked to having troops, French troops, because that's the only ones he could command, sent to Ukraine in a supporting role. And it's important to clarify that none of the suggestions coming from the French government were combat troops, but this would be for demining, removing mines left by Russian forces, or helping with maintenance or repairing weapons, repairing vehicles in Ukraine. The idea behind that thinking, we hear from defense analysts, is that President Macron was trying to do de-escalation or non-escalation through strength, through showing Russia that Europe and NATO allies in Europe will continue to stand by Ukraine, even if that means becoming more invested in Ukraine's defense. And that is really the idea put forward by Emmanuel Macron, the French president. And as you heard, successive leaders, including crucially the German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, all saying that that is not on the table at the minute. Now, we heard the Lithuanian Foreign Minister Landsbergis saying that he thought Emmanuel Macron was ambitious and thinking outside of the box, but the Czech Prime Minister, the Polish Prime Minister, the German Chancellor, and even the Dutch military authority saying that that is not something that they are considering at the moment. But the message behind, at least that's what analysts are saying, what Emmanuel Macron was trying to do, is to show that Europe will firmly stand by to defend Ukraine.
Okay. But is there, as the EU leaders discuss a defense fund, Alex, is there unanimity on what the contours of the defense fund would be? Would they be open to buying ammunition for Ukraine from outside, say, the EU?
Well, that is actually a really, really good and crucial question. And then one of the things that France in particular was doing is saying that we can buy, we being the European Union, can buy ammunition to send to Ukraine, but it has to be bought in the European Union to make sure that domestic defense industries are supported. Now, the issue with that is that those defense industries cannot, could not, have not produced ammunition at the speed that the Europeans and Ukraine need for that to be sent. And so that was a crucial issue. Now, the French have lifted that opposition. That could slowly start turning the wheels, which meant that more ammunition for Ukraine's defense could get there faster than before. Another point that's been made by Ursula von der Leyen just today, the president of the European Commission, speaking earlier today, she said that the frozen Russian assets and the profits that have been generated since the invasion of Ukraine, those assets frozen in the European Union, the funds from those could be redirected to purchase weapons for Ukraine. So again, the message across the board from those European leaders, at least the message that they want to put forward, is that they are trying to find new ideas. They are compromising on some of the things that they had issues with before so that they can continue supporting Ukraine. They can increase their support to Ukraine to make it very clear to Russia that the invasion has to stop.
Okay. Some Central European NATO members, Alex, today said that, they junked the French president's suggestion. Stoltenberg said so, others have said so, the US has said so. What does it mean for this, for the ongoing conflict in the coming days? Could this again pan out for a longer time? What would Putin be thinking of getting this message from across the border?
Well, clearly what it means for the coming days is that there will be no immediate change from that European support. Now, we know that the European Union just a few weeks ago agreed a €50 billion, $55 billion package of support for the Ukrainian government to help that Ukrainian state run as effectively as possible, particularly in the civilian realm as well, and that was a big part of the European support. Now they are looking at creative ways of providing more military support. That will not happen in the next few days, but what may be perceived, the thing that may change in the next few days, is the symbolism of European leaders like Emmanuel Macron, like others who may not agree with him, but clearly getting together as they did in Paris to try and find new solutions to support Ukraine. And Ursula von der Leyen, the European Commission president here in Brussels, making different new suggestions for ways to support Ukraine. So in the very, very short term, in the next few days, it's safe to say that the war will carry on as it has. But what we're starting to notice is perhaps a small shift in that European position, willing to go further, not to escalate this war crucially, but to prevent it getting worse for Ukraine, and in the hopes of stopping the invasion altogether. That is the position from those European nations. The other thing worth mentioning is that some defense analysts say very clearly that a limited, very small number of European troops are already in Ukraine in a supporting and in a training role. Now that hasn't been publicly acknowledged by the governments, but certainly that support is still there. That will not change. The situation on the ground is still a grinding war.
Alex Carrier, thank you for joining us from Brussels. Moving on, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelenskiy is crisscrossing the globe to rally support for his beleaguered country. On Wednesday, he co-hosted the Ukraine Southeast Europe Summit in Tirana, the capital of Albania. On the other hand, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen has proposed to use profits from the frozen Russian assets to buy military supplies for Ukraine. Here's a report by DD India's correspondent Raghav Kumar Jha.
The Ukraine Southeast Europe Summit officially kicked off on Wednesday, with matters related to defense cooperation, peace and security on the agenda. 13 state leaders are attending the event. It is meant to encourage further support for Ukraine by Southeastern European countries as signs of fatigue grow 2 years after Russia's attack on Ukraine.
And in supporting Ukraine, we are here to recommit, once again, not just to the territorial integrity and sovereignty of Ukraine, but also to recommit to the values for which we stand together, the values of freedom, independence, a rules-based international order.
Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelenskiy also called on Prime Minister of Albania Adi Rama. Both the leaders signed a cooperation agreement in Tirana to strengthen Ukraine's position in the Balkans. Albania has been a vocal supporter of Ukraine, but has stayed largely quiet in public about supplying Kiev with arms. Earlier on Tuesday, Volodymyr Zelenskiy visited Saudi Arabia to push for a peace plan and the return of prisoners of war from Russia. Saudi state news agency said the Crown Prince affirmed the kingdom's keenness and support for all international endeavors and efforts aimed at resolving the Ukraine-Russian crisis. Zelensky has been crisscrossing the globe in recent weeks to rally support for his beleaguered country as Ukraine's armed forces face a critical shortage of ammunition and struggle to hold back Russia's military advances on the ground. Meanwhile, in a speech in the European Parliament, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen proposed that the European Union should consider using profits from frozen Russian assets to buy military supplies for Ukraine.
It is time to start a conversation about using the windfall profits of frozen Russian assets to jointly purchase military equipment for Ukraine. There could be no stronger symbol and no greater use for that money than to make Ukraine and all of Europe a safer place to live.
On the other hand, China said on Wednesday that it is also making fresh diplomatic efforts to ease the tension between Russia and Ukraine. The Chinese Foreign Ministry said that China's special representative on Eurasian affairs will visit Russia, Ukraine, Poland, Germany, France, and the European Union headquarters from Saturday. Raghav Kumar Jha's report, DD India.
And in a surprising turn of events, both US President Joe Biden and former US President Donald Trump emerged victorious in the Michigan primaries, setting the stage for a contentious US general election. However, amidst the celebrations and preparations for the upcoming election, President Biden faced unexpected backlash from key Arab American voters for his support for Israel during the recent conflict in Gaza.
The Michigan primaries have concluded with a surprising outcome, as both President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump have secured wins in their respective parties. The result is indicative of a polarized political landscape. Both Biden and Trump have strong support bases, and this sets the stage for a closely contested general election.
And that was a record turnout for a presidential primary. It was higher than what we saw in 2020.
However, amidst the celebrations, President Biden is facing anger from key Arab American voters over his support for Israel during the recent conflict in Gaza. A local campaign has emerged urging Arab American voters to choose uncommitted on the ballot as a sign of protest.
I can't express enough the amazing team that has come together to put uncommitted on the map as everyone is looking at Michigan in order to save lives. I want to remind everyone that a vote uncommitted was a humanitarian vote.
Donald Trump secured a commanding victory in the state's Republican presidential primary, significantly bolstering his position as the frontrunner for the party's White House nomination. His closest competitor, Nikki Haley, finished a distant second, further solidifying Trump's dominance within the party. Saeed Absarul Hassan's report for DD India.
According to the European Union's Agency for Asylum, the number of asylum seekers in Europe jumped to 18% in 2023, reaching 1.14 million. This is the highest since the migrant crisis of 2015-2016, when many people from Asia and the Middle East fled to Europe. About 4.4 million Ukrainians have fled to the European Union because of Russia's special into Ukraine, and they do not need formally to apply for asylum. Russia's special operations inside that lead to a rise in asylum seekers. And moving on to Asia now, South Korea's fertility rate, already the world's lowest, dropped to a fresh record low in 2023. According to statistics, Korea, the average number of expected babies for a South Korean woman during her reproductive life fell to 0.72 from 0.78 in 2022. Since 2018, South Korea has been the only member of the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, or the OECD, to have a rate below 1. The South Korean government in December promised to come up with extraordinary measures to tackle the situation. India's Minister for Women and Child Development, Smriti Irani, on Wednesday hit out at some of the international agencies for putting out data with regard to malnutrition. Addressing the roundtable on developing an analytical approach for the assessment of gender budgeting in India, the minister said that these agencies know very well that they do not capture the entire data of the country.
Indices are used to embarrass India, knowing well that they do not capture the entire data. A poll that doesn't take into consideration that 800 million people have received for the past 2.5 years free food at their doorstep, 100 million beneficiaries, 25 million women, 75 million children below the age of 6 do receive supplementary nutrition. And when these numbers come, not one of these international agencies express anguish at the gap in understanding the Indian reality. For too long, these realities were dressed up and presented so that we could have been made to feel that either we are in need of rescue or we are in need of ideation.
Still to come on DD News Hour, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi visits Tamil Nadu and Maharashtra, unveils a number of projects. India celebrates the National Science Day to honor great Indian physicist Sir C.V. Raman. Climate change continues to accelerate as the world witnesses erratic weather patterns, from devastating wildfires in Texas in the US to unprecedented flooding in Bolivia and Brazil.
That never stops, where information shapes our reality. One app stands out, helps you stay ahead of time. Introducing the DD India app, your gateway to a world of news right at your fingertips. Your most trusted source of news goes global, goes digital. Explore a world of options, top stories, live updates, in-depth analysis, and more. Stay informed wherever you are. Real-time alerts keep you ahead of the curve always. The DD India app, connecting you to the world one story at a time. Download now and explore the world of knowledge, insights, and authentic information.
India that invents. India that innovates. India that excites. India that invites. Land of possibilities. Teeming with opportunities. Watch India Ideas each Thursday, 8 p.m. only on DD India.
You're watching DD India's News Hour. I'm Amritpal Singh. A quick recap of the headlines. India's Prime Minister lays the foundation stone and unveils multiple development projects in the southern state of Tamil Nadu. Also visits the western state of Maharashtra to unveil more projects. 13th WTO Ministerial Conference in Abu Dhabi underway. India calls for restoration of the appellate body as the topmost priority for any reform process. Both Biden and Trump win the Michigan primaries, but US President faces anger from key Arab American voters over Israel's support in Gaza war. Local campaign urges them to choose uncommitted on the ballot. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskiy seeks the Balkan armed support at the two-day summit of the southeastern European countries in Albania. Climate change continues to accelerate as the world is witnessing increasingly erratic weather patterns, from devastating wildfires in Texas to unprecedented flooding in Bolivia and Brazil. Extreme weather patterns are becoming more and more frequent and intense. Take a look at this report by DD India's Faz Khan.
Countries around the world are grappling with extreme weather conditions. From wildfire in the United States to excessive floods in Bolivia, the impact of climate change is more apparent than ever before. In the United States, a massive wildfire has ravaged over 250,000 acres of land across the Texas Panhandle, leading to the widespread evacuations and thick smoke engulfing the entire area. The fire ranks as the fifth largest wildfire in Texas history. In response, Texas Governor Greg Abbott declared a state of disaster in the 60 counties.
We're in the tornado zone and fire zone here the last few years.
Similarly, Australian authorities on Wednesday ordered thousands of residents in Victoria State to evacuate due to an intense heat wave which could further spread a massive bushfire. The state has been facing worst weather conditions in last 4 years. In South America, the bank of Acre River burst in Bolivia that left the city of Cobija submerged in water and forcing authorities to evacuate the residents in boats. The river also affected western Brazil, leading to the evacuation of more than 11,000 people. In G20 meeting, Brazil's environment minister raised the concern over climate change on Tuesday. Minister Silva said that the world is currently witnessing wars with devastating losses, and that significant instability could further arise if governments fail to address climate change issues.
It is practically unspeakable what is happening in the world with the wars that are happening. And obviously that we want peace. But in the context of climate change, we cannot forget, deny the fact that we can have great instabilities if we do not solve the problem of climate change.
The evolving weather patterns globally highlight the urgent need for proactive measures to mitigate climate change. So adapting the resilience strategies and international cooperation are imperative to address escalating climate change.
Bharat Tex 2024 is a one-stop destination to experience the diversity of Indian textiles and crafts. With a focus on sustainability, the mega exhibition aims to position Indian crafts in the global supply chains. DD India's correspondent Shubhendu Ghosh gets us more.
In the backdrop of soulful folk music, exploring the rich and diverse traditions of Indian textiles and handicrafts, this is Bharat Tex 2024, India's largest global textiles event underway in New Delhi. Hundreds of artisans, exhibitors and exporters from different parts of India are showcasing their work. There are also dedicated pavilions on recycling, global supply chains, masterclasses and more.
We also make kasuti, a hand embroidery, a traditional hand embroidery of Dharwad. And I am working with around 200 artisans. I have trained them to do all this.
We are bringing all the different artisans in Rajasthan at the moment with 90 craft communities. So we're working with 90 craft communities at this particular time, and we make cluster fusion designs. So we combine 2 or 3 different designs, crafts together to create one statement piece.
Organized by a consortium of textile export promotion councils and supported by Ministry of Textiles, Bharat Tex is built on the twin pillars of trade and investment with an overarching focus on sustainability.
The response of the buyers, response of the buying agents, response of the other customers in the B2C event in Indie Heart, it has been fabulous. Everybody is very helpful and very enthusiastic to see the success of this event.
There is much to explore and experience for the visitors at Bharat Tex. The 4-day mega exhibition concludes on 29th February. Bharat Tex 2024 seeks to celebrate diverse Indian traditions of textiles and handicrafts and reimagine them in a sustainable manner for the 21st century global supply chains. With camera person Vishwabandhu Goyal, Shubhendu Ghosh for DD India in Delhi.
And going back to our top story, where Prime Minister Narendra Modi unveiled multiple development projects worth more than $2 billion in the southern state of Tamil Nadu. He later visited Maharashtra, which is a western Indian state, and inaugurated various developmental projects there also. But an important project that the Prime Minister inaugurated today was, among the other projects, was aimed at making the VO Chidambaranar port as the first green hydrogen hub port of the country. Now, what does that mean? What benefits does it accrue to our energy transition? How does it balance development along with environment? To talk about that, we are joined by Dr. Vibha Dhawan. She is the Director General of TERI in Delhi. Thank you, Dr. Dhawan, for joining us on the show. How do you see this, making this port the first green hydrogen hub port in the country? How big is it a step towards realizing India's green hydrogen mission?
Well, I'll say that we all are looking towards energy transition in this country, and Honorable Prime Minister, the commitments he had made right from Glasgow and the way we are following up, and the major investment that is going to go in the hydrogen mission, that all takes us towards cleaner and shifting to cleaner and greener fuel. Hydrogen is the fuel for the future. We all know about it because it is one of the things, like hydrogen comes from water. Water is hydrogen and oxygen molecule. So if you do electrolysis, you are getting part of hydrogen as well as oxygen. And therefore, it's cleaning the environment apart from producing the fuel. It's highly efficient. And that is what one is looking towards. We all know we are in a global village where there is a lot of trade that takes place, and most of that trade that happens through the ships. Again, when you look at ships, it is that you are looking at something which is a mode of transportation which moves from one continent to the other. And therefore, internationally, we are looking at that the shipping should be as green as possible. And in that direction, Terry has also set up, it's by Ministry of Port, Shipping and Waterways, National Center of Excellence on Green Ports and Shipping. So this particular initiative of hydrogen-run ships, that is going to take India a long way. Of course, we are talking about possibility of, or rather not possibility, the fact that we will be exporting a lot of hydrogen from the country. It is also that we have to meet our own energy demands apart from shipping, also in difficult to abate sectors like steel and cement.
Dr. Dhawan, you make it sound very easy. You say, ships can generate, hydrogen is generated from water. If that is so, about 80% of the world's trade is done through shipping. And they run on, fuels. So there are big contributors to the pollution of the world. If it were so, what are the hiccups? That why aren't things changing at the pace of it? Is it the cost effectiveness of it? It is the general resistance to change? What is the hiccup?
No, it is. We still haven't reached that stage of resistance. It is more of that. If you look at any technology, the very first stage is proof of concept, where you say, yes, it is possible. And then you want to go. It's after the proof of concept is that you look at technological readiness level. Can this be commercialized? So we are somewhere over there. Today, the cost of production of hydrogen, of course, everyone is quoting different figures, but in a way to make it cost effective, it has to be $2 a kg. Further, even for this electrolysis work, you require energy. You don't want to pollute world further because you need energy. You want to go green. And that is what India is trying to achieve. We want to show the way to the world that green hydrogen can also be produced at an affordable price. So that is where we have to go a long journey. The very first
Dr.
step
Dhawan,
is
can I stop you and ask you, for someone who's a layman who does not understand this as well as you do, you say $2 a kg is the break-even cost at which it will be viable, sustainable economically. What is the current cost, if I may ask, of production of hydrogen from water?
Well, that is what it's different figures. Like it is anywhere from $4 to $8 a kg. And really speaking, if we bring it down even below $2, and that is what the objective is, that it should be somewhere between $1 to $1.5 a kg, then it is that cost competitiveness wise, and India, which lacks fossil fuels, if we can bring it down to that level, the energy security will act as the growth engine for the economic growth of the country.
The Prime Minister also launched, Dr. Dhawan, the first indigenous green hydrogen fuel cell inland waterway vessel. Vessels will as you argued, if they shift to hydrogen, it's beneficial. The only hiccup is bringing costs of the conversion down. But other projects that the Green Hydrogen Hub project, the first Green Hydrogen Hub project, include a desalination plant, a hydrogen production and bunkering facility, etc. What is the way to go ahead? Where can we go? How much distance have we traveled? How much distance do we need to travel more?
Well, it's a very difficult question if you ask me, because like if you look at the projections, it is somewhere around 2050 when you say that major part of the energy is going to come from hydrogen.
Okay.
But when you say how much way we have already traveled, I'll put it this way: we are somewhere at the stage that we are beginners.
Okay.
Because it is not just hydrogen production. We have to see where is the water going to come from, because right now it is coming from the fresh water.
Okay.
So that is why desalination. Your electrolysis, the electrolyzers are very expensive. So it is a research as well as demonstration for large scale production. It's the entire value chain, because somewhere it's not just production of hydrogen. It's a highly inflammable gas. So therefore it's storage, transportation. And if we are talking that it will become a fuel of the future, then even dispensing of hydrogen, in whether it is ships, whether it is cars, you have to be extra careful. And that also calls for large investments in human resource.
Okay.
It's a new technology and there are not many trained people. And again, I'll say we are very proud because just recently, the minister, R.K. Singh, so he has... he announced that an Institute on Energy Transition will be set up by Ministry of Power and Territories. So we are looking forward to it because we need to meet the requirements of the human resource. We need to validate technologies. We need to ensure that various gaps which are there today, that those are met, and which may be within the country, which may also include partnerships with other countries so that we succeed.
Okay. Dr. Dhawan, one final question before I let you go. Even as the government of India puts its political weight behind hydrogen as the fuel of the future, by launching, say, the National Green Hydrogen Mission, an ambitious program, etc., globally, is there a consensus on that green hydrogen is the way to go, or there are still the opinion is divided?
Well, if we look at the government's plan, the use of renewable, and if we also look at the green hydrogen, the major part of renewable perhaps will be used for the production of hydrogen alone.
Okay.
And that's where we have to be a little sensitive, as our energy demand for various other purposes is going to go up. And therefore, right now, but of course, our ultimate aim is green hydrogen, but let's also look at, not worry too much about the color of hydrogen, but look at that it becomes a reality. Like we always say, let's first let the technology succeed and then we'll make more refinements. So that is what it is. Green is ultimate what we are aiming at, but let's first make hydrogen a reality as well. But of course, India is a country, we are aiming at green hydrogen.
All right.
We want to be the best.
Okay. Dr. Vibha Dhawan, DG Terry, thank you very much for joining us on the show and lending us your insights.
Thank you. Thank you.
And moving on, as India celebrated the National Science Day across the country today, Science and Technology Minister Dr. Jitendra Singh underlined milestones set by the country in the field of science and innovation. While addressing an event in the national capital, Science and Technology Minister lauded India's indigenous space program, which falls in line with the theme of this year's National Science Day.
In the same vein as was also being underlined and being stressed upon by Dr. Kalai Selvi, the indigenous technologies, and most of them are actually indigenous. Our Chandrayaan mission, our Aditya mission, they're not only from nut bolt, but even the team is indigenous. And many of them, incidentally and happily so, headed by women scientists. It's not only now confined to the research alone. We are hugely contributing to the economy of this country. So gone are the days when the science labs were considered only to be, some dingy elements. The other day, I only suggested, and I think we'll follow it up in a larger way in the other institutes also. I said we should have more and more of interactive programs with the stakeholders.
And still to come on DD India's News Hour, Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates meets India's Health Minister Dr. Mansukh Mandavia, praises India's remarkable efforts in combating tuberculosis. In a big blow, the Board of Control for Cricket in India drops Indian batters Ishan Kishan and Shreyas Iyer from central contracts lists.
Swagatam to Andhra Pradesh, the coastal jewel of India. A state steeped in history. From the Gandi Kota Fort to the majestic Gondapalli Fort. A region known as the Rice Bowl of India. A holy land with rivers Krishna and Godavari flowing through it. Every part of this land tells a story of culture and devotion.
You're watching DD India's News Hour. I'm Amritpal Singh. Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates met with India's Minister of Health and Family Welfare, Dr. Mansukh Mandavia, in New Delhi on Wednesday. Gates praised India's remarkable efforts in health and family welfare, especially its leading role in combating tuberculosis.
Together with the Health Ministry, it's I'm excited to be here. I just came from Odisha, which was very impressive to see all the things they're doing, including, the digital innovation. It's kind of amazing what a leader India is in digital innovation. And of course, as part of the G20 meeting, that was one of the commitments that India made, was that it would help share all of the great progress being made to use digital approaches to improve healthcare. And that's an area, not just because of my original career, but in general, we see great potential for. And so, we're looking forward to the continued evolution of the ABDM vision on how we can track patients and coordinate all the different workers and, making sure we're focusing resources on the people who need it the most.
During the visit, Gates was introduced to Bhisham Arogya Maitri Cube, hailed as the world's first emergency hospital capable of being set up within 10 minutes. This innovative solution can be swiftly deployed to disaster zones either via airlift or even by bicycle, showcasing India's proactive approach to disaster preparedness. Spearheaded by Prime Minister Modi, the initiative has been successfully executed through a collaborative effort between the Defence Ministry and the Health Ministry. India is the first country to make a financial case for women's empowerment, creating an alliance for global good. This initiative reflects India's commitment to its G20 presidency agenda, emphasizing a vision of one world, one future. The alliance is a coalition of the government, industry and development organizations. The logo for this alliance was unveiled on Wednesday in New Delhi in presence of India's Minister for Women and Child Development, Smriti Irani. It was co-chaired by Bill Gates from the Bill Gates and Melinda Gates Foundation. Born out of the G20 leaders' declaration, India's steadfast commitment to women-led development, the alliance is poised to make a transformative impact on gender-related issues.
As we walked, we Indians looked proudly at the first ever gender lounge at Davos, which celebrated the female potential not only of India, but also resonated with our partners across the world, for they had never seen such a collaboration ever before. Mr. Gates has been kind enough to say that your organization has partnered under the Prime Minister's leadership on issues of gender and nutrition for years. While I reciprocate that admiration and gratitude for the partnership, gender budgeting under Prime Minister Modi's leadership in the past decade has gone up by 239%. We know that ministries across the government have gender budget cells. We hope now that we can create processes to compute, report data, and if there are gaps, then to address those gaps.
This initiative, I think, got started with India's very successful G20, which showed the world many of the great things going on, including this new focus on Indian-led development. And I'm very pleased to see this coming together. Many of these issues have not gotten the attention they deserve, and so I think we can actually make rapid progress in a number of things. And both I and my co-chair, Melinda Gates, are very committed to that. So the focus of the Alliance is on issues of gender health, education, and enterprise, and all of them are very important to equitable development. The Minister's leadership on this has made a big difference. We've been partnering with her on a number of things, and this new initiative, which will bring in both government, foundation, and private sector resources, is another example. So we're committed to this for the long term. I'll be thrilled as we make progress and we can meet with you and talk about the results that are a result of this alliance.
The Bharatiya Janata Party delegation, turning to, local news, to national news. BJP's delegation met the Election Commission in Delhi and demanded urban facilities or more facilities for urban voters. India's Minister Ashwini Vaishnav has asked the Election Commission to make arrangements for voters living in high-rise buildings. They said there should be 100% recording in every booth, and approval for releasing the media stream should be given early. In a big move, the Indian Cricket Board, or the BCCI, on Wednesday dropped Indian middle order batsman Shreyas Iyer and wicketkeeper Ishan Kishan from its annual central contracts list of 2023-24. The national body removed Iyer and Kishan from the central contract list despite both of them featuring in India's one-day international World Cup campaign last year. The duo were excluded after ignoring the directive from BCCI to play the Ranji Trophy. There were many speculations about why the duo was being dropped. Ishan Kishan took a break midway into India's tour of South Africa, after which he was not picked up for the 2020 International Series against Afghanistan and the Test Series against England. Shreyas Iyer recently excused himself from a Ranji Trophy game of Mumbai due to a back issue. Meanwhile, among the other players, Rohit Kohli, Jasprit Bumrah and Ravindra Jadeja figured in the A+ category. And that's it for this edition of DD India News Hour. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X, formerly known as Twitter, and also Instagram. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Amrit Pal Singh, and from all my team in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India's News Hour. Namaskar.